guys, so as Rick mentioned, my name's Jennifer, and today we're going to talk about 10 tips for SEO. Well, but see, that I can't really see the slide. That's the problem there. Because how to make Google like you, because who cares about Bing? No, but we have a joke SEOs do that if you need to bury a body, put it on the second page of Google or the first page of Bing. But in all seriousness, most search engines kind of copy Google's algorithm, so if you are pleasing Google, they're probably going to rank you just the same. So if you don't know what SEO is, kind of the quick and dirty of it is that it's a way to please the search engines, to make sure your website's being fully crawled, that it's being indexed, and that you're ranking for the keywords that people are searching for. So as an SEO, I could make you rank for widgets, but if you sell paper cups, that's not going to matter. So it's about, hello, it's about making sure you're relevant to those search terms. So a little bit about me. I've been doing SEO for about 3 years. I'm currently at Big Wing. I also do data analysis and reporting. And I'm kind of not a big nerd, but a medium-sized nerd, I would say. I'm a big Lord of the Rings nerd. And yes, girl. And the main thing about me is that I have a lot of pets. I have 10 to be exact. Starting at the top left, we have Coco, Meatball, Taz, Moose, Fatty, Tater, Sonny, Lou, Terror Parade, and Dark Dark. Dark Dark is the kitten's moms, so there's just a lot. And then if you include my horse, I have 11. Her name is Amira, and she is awesome, but she does not live with me, so I don't include her most of the time. But let's get started. So these tips go kind of in order from things that I think you guys mainly do, like developers are already doing, to things you might not be doing that would really help you guys out. So let's start with sitemaps and robots.txt. Please, at least have an XML sitemap. Google crawlers really start there when they hit your site. They look for an XML sitemap, and they go through it, so make sure it's complete, and they'll hit all those pages that are in there. And a thing that you might not be doing, but if a SEO ever works with your site or looks at your site, you can submit your XML sitemaps to Google via Google Search Console. And so if you make changes, you can say, hey, Google, I made changes to my site. Please come re-index it. So if you took down pages or added new pages, that's a way to tell them to come look at it again, because Google just comes around when it feels like it. XML sitemaps are nice too from a user experience, but please make sure they are complete. I've seen lots of HTML sitemaps that are just the navigation. It's like, why bother? Robots.txt is not an end-all to be-all. I know it's kind of a little controversial for some people, but if you have a page or areas of your site that you don't want indexed, it's a good place to start to tell Google crawlers to not index that page. If you have a page that is very important that it's not crawled, use robots.txt and meta robot tags. That's usually will get around some of those naughty little crawlers who show up and are indexing things that you told them not to. So yeah, please do those two things. Canonical tags. Canonical tags basically tell Google, hey, look at this version of my web page. So say you have multiple versions, and if you have redirect issues or something, it's another way to say, please only look at this page. Please judge me off this page. And they can point to themselves. So if your, HTTPS is the version you want looked at of that page, put it as a canonical tag. Doesn't matter if it's the same. It's just another thing to make sure that Google is looking at the right thing. Place them on every page. They should go on every page you want indexed. And if you have different languages of your page, so if you have a website that's in English but also this exact same page is in Spanish, use hreflang tags in conjunction with your canonical tags. So you can say like, this is our main page, but an alternative is this page in Spanish. And then you put that on the opposite page. So it's like, don't ding me for duplicate content, because Google hates duplicate content. They will take you down in the rankings for it. So moving on, redirects. For the love of God, you guys, please do the redirects. If you have a new site, make sure you pick one version. If it's HTTPS, because that's ideal, make sure your HTTP is going to your HTTPS version. And if it's www, make sure it's going, the non is going to www, or you can do the vice versa. There's really not any sort of hard and fast rule on that. You know, just pick one and make sure they're all going to one. If you have like both versions up, that's duplicate content. And we've already discussed how much Google hates that. Again, with the redirects, I'm sure you guys are familiar with all your status codes, but this is kind of a way I like to think of it. If you have a site that you're migrating, 301s are really good. We like 301s. It's like saying, hey, post office, I moved across town. Please send my mail here. 410s are like, hey, I moved out of state, and it's a big deal, and we kind of don't really like to use those. Please be careful with your 410s. If you are really serious that that page is gone forever, that's totally fine. You can use a 410. But if there's a page that is even remotely like that is live, use a 301 and point that content to it, because Google will never index again. It'll be like, oh, okay, it's gone, and it won't look for it ever again. So use 410 sparingly. 404s is like you went missing, and you know, your mama is out calling the police, and someone started a GoFundMe to try to find you, and really you just moved onto your best friend's couch. You know? So no one wants a 404. So please don't have 404s. Use anything else but a 404. In addition to that, 302s, like temporarily gone, really only use that if it really is temporarily gone. Like if it's gonna come back in like a week, that's fine. But if it's like 90 days, no. Because Google will keep hitting it and keep requesting it, and eventually it'll just be like, yeah, that doesn't exist. And redirects are also really important if you have an existing site that's, that has been live, if other content from other sites are linking to you. Because say like maybe an important news site has a link to your site in it, and now it's broken, and people are coming there, and they're like, oh, that sucks, and then they just leave, you know, especially like blog content. If a blog is linking to another blog, and I go to that blog, and it's broken, I'm not gonna spend time trying to find it. So make sure you've got your redirects in place so that when that happens, they land on the correct content and you don't lose that potential user or buyer or, you know, customer of any sort. So please do the redirects. Long story short, your SEOs will thank you, and it's good for your business. So, page load. It ain't slow. So, page abandonment, web page abandonment, usually happens within 3 seconds or less. So your page should not take longer than 4 seconds to load. And if they're on mobile, it's even faster than that. No one wants to wait anymore. So make sure that images are optimized, JavaScript and CSS is minimized as much as it can be. I like to use PageSpeed Insights, but I know from some of my dev friends that maybe doesn't give a complete picture and might not be the best. Pingdom is good, I just don't want to pay for it. So, but just another good way of seeing how long pages take to load on your site is through Google Analytics, which we will get to. But, you know, just make sure it's loading quickly. You don't have giant images that are taking forever. And page load is also really important if you're ever running like an AdWords campaign, which I don't know if you guys would be, but if you are, if your site is really, really slow, you'll get penalized, and Google will not run ads. They'll shut down your entire AdWords account. So this is important. Navigation. So make sure that, like, if you're using a CMS or however you built your website, that other users can come in and edit it. I've run into several non-editable navigations, and I think from a scalability standpoint, that doesn't make a lot of sense because you're going to be adding and taking away things usually in a website. So just make sure someone could come in and change it if they want, and especially if you're building a site for, you know, a customer or something, they might want to change things. So I get the design thing, but if someone can't use your site, if they can't navigate it, what's the point? So, you know, if you have a UX person who might want to help you with that, you can. Like, I'm all for a pretty website, you guys, but go grab yourself a boomer and make sure they can get around in it, you know. If your mom or dad or Aunt Ginny can't use it, is it working, you know? So let's just make sure we can get around the site, because I want to see all the pretty things y'all are making. Also, just a reminder, crawlers read your site like English speakers read language. They go from top to bottom and left to right. So be sure that, you know, your most important things are at the top and to the left. So, because Google puts importance on things like that. So your most important stuff goes at the top, your least important stuff goes at the bottom, and they assign importance like that. So continuing on, title tags and H1s. So I've seen a lot of weird stuff with title tags and H1s. I think maybe my biggest pet peeve is please do not tie them together. I know it seems like kind of an easy way to get your title tag to be unique, but they should be different. H1s are kind of like more of a marketing factor, and they should be something where I can put keywords, but also, what am I trying to say? Also, like, have a marketing thing to it. So oftentimes those are a lot longer than title tags should be. So they're kind of like, your H1s are kind of like your selling point, and your title tags are mainly to get people to click to your site from the search engine result pages and to tell Google what that page is about. So if you didn't know, a good rule for title tags is that they should be not really longer than 80 characters. And it's good to have your business name at the end of it. I don't really usually count that in my 80 characters, because if it's on every page, then Google gets it, and users see that, like, in the URL in the search engine page, so it's okay. And we're gonna go over writing title tags here in a second. That's kind of a more SEO thing, so I wanted to save it to the end. But and make sure your H1s are at the top of your page, because we talked about the importance thing. Google looks at headings in their importance. So 1 through 6, your H6, least important. Your H1, most important. I've seen H1 stuck in the footer. Please don't do that. Don't put the H1 in the footer. And try to only have one H1, because it's kind of like when people mark their emails high priority all the time. It kind of takes away the importance of it. So just try to have one, and try to, you know, what else do I have on here? Oh yeah, places high up on the page. Okay, yeah, we beat this horse to death. It's, oh no, uh-oh, help, help. Oh, isn't that nice? All right, what happened here? Where's my mouse? Okay, let me drag, hang on. We're getting there, you guys. All right. Oh no, all right. Okay, we're back. It's fine. Okay. Relative versus absolute links. I see some offenders when it comes to this. So if you don't really know the difference, a relative link is like just the slug. It doesn't have your top level domain in it. So like this little analogy here, what is that? Is that a cat? Is that an owl sitting on a tree branch? I don't know. But when you have the whole thing, it's a kitty. And so I know it's easier to just put the slug in your internal links and things like that, but it really opens up your site to scraping. So someone could come along and just copy your whole site, put it somewhere else, put it on a different top-level domain, and now you have a duplicate content problem, and Google is going to penalize both of you. So please make sure you use absolute links as often, if not always. It'll just help you and save you from icky little people out there who are doing bad things. URLs. I thought this was really funny because this is like two of the things I wanted to talk about, and that's like two of the most, I guess, Googled topics and things like that. So should your URLs be case sensitive? Yes. Please force a case. It doesn't have to be lowercase. It's a lot easier for users if it is lowercase. I prefer lowercase, but if I can type in your URL and make one character uppercase and that page still loads, duplicate content. And if you can do that, you have like endless duplicate content if you're not forcing a case. So please force your case. The trailing slash debate. Just pick one. Don't have the slash, have the slash. Don't have both. Duplicate content. It's like a theme. Should have made it my theme. I like the trailing slash. I think it's more common, but just pick one. Okay, so this was fun. This kind of was harder than I thought it was. But let's look at some examples of ugly URLs. The top one is good. It's short. It's clear, easy to read, and it's easy for users to remember because you want them to come back to your site. If your top-level domain and your URL is really long and complicated and doesn't make a lot of sense, they're not going to remember how to get back to it. So short, clear, easy to read. Under it, they got a little keyword happy. Keywords are important if you can fit them into your URL. That's great, but don't force it. Google doesn't like keyword stuffing. That's kind of a really old SEO tactic to overload your website with keywords. Use them where they make sense. If you can easily name a URL something short with a keyword, yay, love that. But don't do that. That's really long and not great. The one under it has a good use to keywords. So, use that as your guide. And the one, this number 48, I just liked it because of the avocado toast thing. It's really funny. But also, the end doesn't make any sense. Like, it's SoFi mortgage avocado toast. What? So it's good if your URLs are, like, logical. They don't have to have every single, like, word of the page in it, but that doesn't make any sense. So try to think of your user when you're like setting your URLs, and make sure they make sense. Also, numbers. Please watch out for numbers in your URL. If you're like assigning a number to a user, like when the user comes to their site to identify you, use like a lettered ID, or use a cookie. Give them a cookie so that they can be recorded in analytics, which we will get to. But when you append numbers to a URL, it gets really kind of icky looking. Or if you have like a product and you're putting the product as a number in your URL, you're missing an opportunity because you could just use the name of the product and then keyword. So, kind of watch out for numbers. Avoid them when you can. I know like with articles and stuff, it might be a little hard. But you could say articles dash kind of a shortened name of the article, and that would be better. So also in the notes of this slide, which I believe we share, I have a blog that has lots of really good examples of URLs and how to write your URLs for SEO. So if you guys want to look at that later. Keyword research. So this is definitely more of an SEO thing, but I think there is a way that devs could do it that wouldn't eat up a lot of your time and still be really useful for you. So that's the intensity may vary. I do it really intensely because that's my job, but you don't have to, but it could still be really good. So some things that you could do and just keep in mind is keyword research is a really easy way to just see what people are calling your thing. So you can just you could just Google it. You could just go incognito because Google tracks you. So it'll serve you pages you've been to or think you want to see. So go incognito. The next slide also has tools, so we'll look at that. Call a spade a spade. Don't try to get fancy on us. Just if your page is about X product, put it in the title tag. Also, write your meta descriptions. They don't matter for ranking necessarily, but they're a good marketing call to get people to click on your site. So meta descriptions shouldn't be any longer than 160 characters or else it'll get truncated. Also on keyword research, sorry, my notes are like in here, but I can't get it on here. It's very confusing. Be sure that you are, hang on. Sorry, you guys. I need this. I'm missing one thing. It's driving me nuts. What slide number is this? Oh, yes. Don't waste time on dumb pages that you're not going to rank for. You're not going to rank for about us or contact us. That's fine. You don't need to. No one really cares about that. They care about it when they get to your site and they want to contact you and they want to see you, so be sure it's in your navigation. But, you know, focus on product pages, focus on your service pages, focus on what you do. So if you're not trying to optimize the whole site, pick 3 pages that are really important to your business and optimize those. Okay. Tools. Hang on. Tools. AdWords Keyword Planner is free. It won't give you a lot of information really on terms of keyword volume if you're not running a campaign, but it's a good way to get ideas on what to call things and to see if people are calling your thing the way you say it. Like a lot of technical service industries have their own jargon and that's not what users call it. So be sure to kind of check on that, make sure y'all are lining up there on the words. Keywordtool.io is also really good. If you have a free account, it doesn't give you volumes, but it's really good about giving you content suggestions. If you're trying to create content, it'll give you like questions people are asking, and it'll help you generate ideas on how to call things. Moz Keyword Planner, if you sign up for a free account, you can do 5 queries a day. And it will give you volumes, so you might just have to wait to do all your keyword research. But and Answer the Public is really good for generating content ideas. It kind of does this cool word map thing on like how people are asking that question, why X thing. It's neat. It's just kind of fun to play with too. Or if you have an SEO friend, you could ask them to help you. Google Analytics. This is kind of my number one thing. Please put analytics on any site you make. I don't care if you use it. Just put it on there. Someone wants to see the historical data of that website, I promise you. If you can fire it through Tag Manager, that is ideal. I'm not going to go over how to do that because you can Google that. If you don't know, Tag Manager is a way to put tracking on your site so you can see what people click on. You can do scroll tracking. You can get very complicated very fast, but if you just put it on there and fire analytics, that's awesome. Especially if you think anyone else is ever going to be interacting with your website. That kind of tracking is becoming more and more popular. Be sure to place it on all your pages. I've seen some where they only put it on the home page or something like that, and it's just like, don't do that. I want to see how that user goes and interacts with your site. From a historical standpoint, it's really good. Hang on, let me get back over here. It's really good to see traffic, so you can see, if maybe you have a site and you have analytics on it, and you go and you update your title tags after this talk, you can see how much more traffic you're getting. You can also see outliers. So, like maybe you go there and look, and oh my God, your traffic tanked. What happened? Maybe I've seen it to where people accidentally update their site and remove analytics. Not a huge deal, but you would want to know that. You can also see spikes. Maybe you advertised on Facebook, or you had a post on Facebook and more people came to your site, and you can see, oh, hey, that worked. That's kind of neat. You can also see if you were penalized. A good way, kind of a better way of seeing that is through Search Console, which is free and you can set up even without analytics. But you can also see if your traffic tanked, it might be because you were penalized, and you can start to investigate that. You can also see algorithm updates. Google loves to go in and update their algorithm all the time. And sometimes it's a big deal. Like sometimes things that were acceptable before are no longer acceptable to them, and it can really affect your traffic. Especially if you've had SEOs work on your site, sometimes we are sketch and might do things that are questionable. I don't. I'm a white hat SEO. But some of them are a little slimy, to be honest. So they may have done something that is no longer a common practice and that Google hates. So that's, and then, you can dig around in there. There's all sorts of data. You can see if people are coming to your site on web or mobile or on their tablet, which might be good for you guys to know. You can see kind of where they come in and where they leave. It's just chock full of information. So yeah, that's basically my top suggestions. Oh, I'm switching back and forth. Do you guys have any questions? These kept coming up in my Pixabay searches, and I just thought they were so weird, hilarious that they had to be somewhere on the slide. What is this band of cats? Band of cats, I called it. Do you guys have any questions? Rick.
Yes, Rick's do a lot of work with WordPress, but something I keep seeing coming out that I just now look into it is pages being labeled as cornerstone content. Do you know anything about that?
So for the stream, Rick asked about cornerstone content, and I haven't really heard that term actually in what I'm doing. I would assume it's your most important content. Is that kind of what it is? Is there something they're saying about it, or just you should have it?
From what I've looked into it at, it's kind of like what you're saying. It's something that you want Google to see as your most important thing.
Yeah.
It actually, in the pages, it will let you sort cornerstone content as well. So it's kind of
Yeah, I would just make sure, that all that stuff is done on your cornerstone content, And that would be a good thing, whatever you consider your cornerstone content to be, focus on optimizing it, yeah. But I haven't really heard anything else about it. Yes?
How significant are the AMP pages in
So this man's asked how significant AMP pages are. I actually wrote an article about that on the Big Wing website. Plug. So AMP is kind of weird. The only application I can see for it is really journalism and if you're generating a lot of blog content. For regular pages, I would say don't worry about it. It's not worth the effort, and there's a good chance that you might accidentally kind of mess it up and end up creating duplicate content, because and I just saw an article the other day that was like, is AMP going away? So I would just make sure, I think the most important thing that Google is trying to communicate with AMP is that your page loads fast, And I think AMP kind of also strips away some of that experience, like the user experience. Like if you've got a really pretty website, kind of like makes that less pretty. So I would say, unless you're a news website or you're like BuzzFeed or you have a lot of blog articles that people are coming to from their phones, I wouldn't worry about it. Anyone else? Oh, yes, I can. And I can, if you guys want to tweet at me or something to remind me to tweet these out, I can. But Moz has a really in-depth beginner's guide that I think it's called like SEO for beginners. And I'm pretty sure if you Google SEO for beginners, it comes up first. Moz is one of the best go-to resources for SEO. They know their stuff. So I would definitely start there. It's a little overwhelming, but they have it broken up into chapters. So if you have a specific thing you're looking for, look there. And some other good, like, kind of blogs and articles would be Kissmetrics is really good for beginners. Let me think. Who else has some good ones? I think Big Wing has a beginner blog for SEO. It's for good things to start out on. So, yeah, but if you hit me up, stream person, we can talk. Anyone else? Yes, so she asked to explain more about the absolute versus relative links. And it's kind of confusing. Oh my God, you guys, I'm so bad. I would recommend, there's a video on Moz, Whiteboard Friday. My ex-boss, Ruth Burr Reedy, kind of explains it, and she's really good and smart, so I would definitely watch that. But, I mean, the main thing is how it's formatted. So if you have a link in your text or in your navigation, and it's only like /about us, someone could come in, scrape your whole website, those links would be in there, and they can just put it on their top level domain. So like if you have like example.com/about us, they can have example-78 /about us and have the exact same content as you. And normally with that, Google will kind of give precedence to who had the content first, but they're not really super great about figuring that out. And they hate it. So they will like ding you down in the rankings and just, you won't get any traffic. So it's not ideal. Does that help? Okay. Anyone else? Yes.
You talk about something on our website, and I talked about the lowercase, uppercase thing. I think we also just do the redirect. If it's the uppercase to the lowercase side, would that be okay?
Mm-hmm. That would be okay, yeah. Be sure to do the redirect. Yeah. And like, the redirects are super important, but I also want to point out, like, say maybe you go back and look at your site and maybe it's a little keywordy or it's not keywordy enough, don't change it. You want your URLs to be good, but if they're not great, you risk losing authority. So Google comes to your site, looks at it, the more people who are linking to your site and things like that, that gives you what's called domain authority. And it's really important for your rankings. That's why you might hear like a lot of SEOs and people talking about link building, which you have to be careful with. We've gotten in trouble in the past from getting spammy links and stuff like that. Don't do that. But when you do a redirect, it's kind of like shoving liquid through a straw, and the liquid is the authority. You're going to lose some of it in the redirect. So if you have a really high ranking site, for example, I was looking at a site the other day that the URLs were a little keyword stuffy, more to my liking, but they had a domain authority of 54, so I'm not going to touch it. I'm just going to leave it. It's fine. So kind of keep that in mind when you're looking at things like that. If it's not offensive and it's not terrible, don't worry about it. But if it's like all numbers and weird letters, fix that. And- yeah, yeah. Like, calling a thing, whatever your thing is, call it that. But don't get overboard. Like, I had a client that was like, after the slash, it was their contact page, and it was like, contact their business name in Shawnee, Eaton, Oklahoma City, and Clinton, Oklahoma, at their company name, call us. No, do not do that. That is keyword stuffing. We fixed that. So, anyone else? You guys can always ask me later, tweet at me, whatever. I'm here to help. All right, cool.